live in interesting times. Today's stories. Ramaphosa says a new era has dawned in South Africa.
A new era of hope and renewal.
In Argentina, Fernandez and Kirchner promised to reduce poverty.
Que dijo Macri, le vamos a atender.
Niger residents protest against the presence of foreign forces. Venezuelans queue for hours to fill up their cars.
Más de 12 horas en cola.
In California, border police drop off migrants in the city.
Taking them to a temporary shelter where we'll be providing.
President Trump delivers remarks on aid for farmers, the trade war with China, and tensions with Democrats.
China can do this because, I'll be honest, we're getting hundreds of billions of dollars.
Nancy Pelosi says Democrats are not on a path to impeachment.
That's where he wants us to be. And when he saw that
A tornado rips through Oklahoma and leaves at least 2 dead.
It's that, and then also the debris of the mobile home.
Plus, on this side of the world, musical tells stories of Asian American struggles and victories.
Characters that there is at least one character who you're going to be able to relate to in the
Hello everyone, I am Jennifer Polentan, bringing you stories from around the globe, and this is Eagle News, Washington, D.C. South Africa's newly sworn-in president, Cyril Ramaphosa, says a new era has truly dawned, and that this is an opportunity to build a nation the country wants and deserves. He addressed more than 30,000 people who attended his inauguration in Pretoria.
I am humbled by the trust that you have bestowed upon me, and I'm also aware of the challenges our country faces, but I'm also alive to the fact that our people are filled with hope for a better tomorrow. It is you, the people of South Africa, who have spoken. With your votes, you place your confidence and your trust in the men and women who now sit in our 6th democratic parliament.
Former President Cristina Kirchner and former Cabinet Chief Alberto Fernandez promised to lift millions of Argentines out of poverty in their first act of their presidential elections on October 27th, in which the President Mauricio Macri seeks re-election.
Y a los 4,5 millones de pobres que dejó Macri, le vamos a tender la mano y los vamos a traer adentro.
Un país que crecía, había trabajo, había educación, había futuro. ¿Qué fue? Siempre me sigo preguntando todavía qué fue lo que nos pasó para este presente tan dramático que estamos viviendo.
De alegría. Yo, desde que ella dijo la candidatura, siento en la gente que me rodea alegría, esperanza. Eso vale oro.
Y creo que está a la altura histórica por haber estado en un momento tan importante como fue el momento de crisis total en el 2003, donde él fue parte de esa construcción, así que tiene esa trayectoria, tiene ese recorrido y creo que está en totales condiciones de poner a la patria de pie nuevamente.
Protesters in Niamey rally against the presence of foreign forces in Niger, saying that foreign armies are not doing enough to protect them.
Nous voyons pas aujourd'hui la plus-value de la présence de ces bases militaires étrangères. Parce que notre pays, chaque jour que Dieu fait, jour comme la nuit, est victime des attaques qui peuvent, à notre entendement, s'il y a une franche collaboration et un soutien extérieur, cela peut être évité à notre pays. Le comité directeur de l'Union des scolaires nigériens a organisé ces meetings gigantesques ici à Niamey, mais Parlement, au-delà sur le plan national, pour dans un premier temps soutenir nos forces de défense et de sécurité, victimes ces derniers jours des attaques répétées, enregistrant des morts et des blessés.
On ne peut pas comprendre, il y a plusieurs pays qui sont là au Niger. Il y a l'armée américaine, l'armée française, etc. etc. Mais est-ce qu'aujourd'hui, au préalable sur le terrain du point de vue concret, est-ce qu'il y a le mixage? Il n'y a pas le mixage parce qu'aujourd'hui, s'ils sont là pour défendre notre territoire, s'ils sont là pour nous aider, donc on doit les fixer pour ensemble faire le travail pour assurer la sécurité.
Analysts say areas of insecurity on the Sahara's poor, arid southern rim are widening, even as the so-called G5 Sahel group, Burkina Faso, Chad, Mali, Mauritania, and Niger, seek to expand their anti-terror campaign. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said this month, overall, the security situation in the Sahel continued to deteriorate, having spillover effects on neighboring countries that are not members of G5 Sahel, including Benin, Côte d'Ivoire, or the Ivory Coast, and Togo. Guterres said in recent months, armed groups had been sighted on Mauritania's border with Mali. Attacks on security forces had continued unabated in Mali itself. Terrorist groups, militias, and armed guards are proliferated in Burkina, and jihadists had killed dozens of soldiers and civilians in Niger. At the end of last year, more than 120,000 people had been displaced in Mali, a tripling in the space of a year, while 160,000 have fled their homes in Burkina. According to a French military source, there are about 2,000 fighters across the Sahel, of which up to 1,400 are in Mali. Their hallmark tactics, brutal gun attacks, roadside bombings, and hostage-taking, seek to weaken the rule of law and authority of the state, often fomenting intercommunal fighting on which they capitalize. Mahumadou Sawadogo, a researcher at the Crossroads of Study and Research for Democracy and Development at Senegal's Gaston Berger University, said, "There are not necessarily more attacks, but the attacks are more violent. The groups have acquired some technical competence." Lassina Diarra, author of a book on Western African countries facing transnational terrorism, said, "There's an increase in power at the quantitative level and also in their efficiency." He said, "In Burkina, there appears to have been a merger of means between groups affiliated to Al-Qaeda and those affiliated to the Islamic State. It seems that they now lend each other a helping hand." Diarra suggested that battle-hardened fighters may have arrived from the Middle East after the so-called Islamic State lost its territory in Syria. He said, "We are seeing changes in operational methods with the use of explosives, mines, and car bombs, combined with more ambitious raids." A shortage of gasoline in Venezuela, which is experiencing the worst socioeconomic crisis in recent history, is hitting various parts of oil-producing country, including Valencia, the capital city of Carabobo State, where people wait in line for more than 10 hours to fill up their tanks.
Ya más de 12 horas en cola, esperando que la gandola llegara, llegó. Problemas con la luz, quedamos sin luz a puerta de entrar y pues ya por lo menos estoy ya para surtir.
Llevan como 3 semanas en esto ya. 3 semanas que dan las colas full, que no llega gasolina. Últimamente llegan un día de por medio, un día sí, un día no. Y las colas sin contar pues. Hasta allá.
No, aquí lo que se necesita es cambio de gobierno, cambio de actitud para poder mejorar toda una infraestructura que se ha ido al suelo. Se ha acabado la producción, no hay producción de ninguna índole. Entonces, ¿cómo vamos a estar? Completamente caótico, con una situación caótica lo que se está viviendo.
The U.S. oil embargo on Venezuela that comes into effect on Sunday will deepen the South American country's economic crisis without necessarily forcing President Nicolas Maduro from power and force Caracas to turn to China and Russia for salvation. Until now, U.S. sanctions directly targeted the upper echelons of Maduro's regime, in hopes of weakening his grip on power in favor of a transition to opposition leader Juan Guaido, who in January declared himself acting president. Then, Washington led more than 50 countries in endorsing his claim. But these new sanctions will bite hard in a country that has suffered 5 years of recession marked by shortages of basic necessities, such as food and medicines. Venezuela is almost entirely reliant on oil revenue, with 96% of its income from crude and the U.S. its single largest customer. Michael Shifter, an Inter-American Dialogue, says there is certainly no guarantee that the petroleum embargo will result in the end of Maduro's rule. But he added, it may contribute to the desperation that fuels street protests and that ultimately leads to the regime's collapse. Caracas is exporting 500,000 barrels a day to U.S. companies, which accounted for 3/4 of its liquidity by the end of 2018. The new sanctions not only ban U.S. companies from buying Venezuela's crude, but also all foreign entities from using the American banking system to purchase the black gold from Caracas. Specialist Luis Olivos told AFP it means China and Russia may have to be Venezuela's lifesavers. Coming up, in California, border police drop off migrants in the city. President Trump delivers remarks on aid for farmers, the trade war with China, and tensions with Democrats. Nancy Pelosi says Democrats are not on a path to impeachment. A tornado rips through Oklahoma and leaves at least 2 dead. Eagle News, Washington, D.C. will be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. You are watching Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Overwhelmed by asylum applications at the U.S.-Mexico border, U.S. Border Patrol directs dozens of migrants every day to large cities several hundred kilometers from the border.
Said that the Border Patrol just dropped off 36 people here, and we will be taking them to a temporary shelter where we will be providing for all of their needs and also doing intake to make sure that they are going to be okay.
We brought some underwear, towels, we brought granola bars, we brought different items to be able to provide for the families.
U.S. President Donald Trump delivers remarks on supporting America's farmers and ranchers hurt by the trade war with China, saying there's probably a good possibility of achieving a trade deal. Trump also says he is prepared to send troops to Iran if we need them, and addresses the latest spat with Democrats over a failed meeting on infrastructure.
The farmers have been attacked by China, and all I'm doing is helping them get that beautiful, flat, nice, level playing field. Possibility, I think probably a good possibility. I don't know how China can do this because I'll be honest, we're getting hundreds of billions of dollars brought in to our country. We've never gotten 10 cents. We're getting hundreds of billions of dollars coming into our country. And I'm helping the farmers. Right. But you know what? That help is a very temporary help because they'll pay it back 100 times over. They will with what they do, with the importance of what they do. Well, I would if we need them. I don't think we're going to need them. I really don't. But I have a meeting on it in about an hour. I would certainly send troops if we need them. Iran has been a very dangerous player, very bad player. They're a nation of terror, and we won't put up with it. I haven't changed very much. Been very consistent. I'm an extremely stable genius. I think it's a do-nothing Congress. The Democrats have done nothing in the House. They've done absolutely nothing. They don't get it. I mean, other than investigate.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi reaffirms her charge that U.S. President Donald Trump is engaged in a cover-up after another temper tantrum when he abruptly canceled a meeting with her top Senate Democrat Chuck Schumer at the White House. She, however, adds the House Democratic Caucus is not on a path to impeachment, and that's where he wants us to be.
Now, I truly believe that the president has a bag of tricks, and the White House has a bag of tricks that they save for certain occasions. They don't necessarily apply to the occasion, but they're a distraction, which is his master of distraction. We will all agree on that. That's something he does well, to distract from problems that he has. He tries to change the subject. But I think what really got to him was these court cases and the fact that the House Democratic Caucus is not on a path to impeachment, and that's where he wants us to be. And when he saw that that was not happening, that, again, with the cover-up, which he understands is true, just struck a chord. And now this time, another temper tantrum. Again, I pray for the President of the United States. I wish that his family or his administration or his staff would have an intervention for the good of the country. Oh, yes. Oh, there's no question. The White House is just crying out for impeachment. That's why he flipped yesterday, because he was hoping, because he was, somehow or other, you all have a story that isn't real. I mean, you want to believe that there's all this unease in our caucus. That simply isn't the truth.
A tornado hits Oklahoma, causing significant damage. A tornado hits El Reno, Oklahoma, causing significant damage in a hotel and nearby mobile home park. Meanwhile, tornadoes and thunderstorms create a path through Midwestern states. Eagle News correspondent E.J. Short with the details.
Earlier this week, tornadoes touched down and battered several areas of the state. Officials say 3 people were killed in the town of Golden City, Missouri, by a tornado that touched down Wednesday night. However, as of right now, there are no active tornado warnings. Instead, many are under severe thunderstorm and flood warnings. Currently here where I am standing, the weather can be easily described as humid, lightning, and wind is starting to pick up. From Kansas City, Missouri, I am E.J. Short, reporting for Eagle News, and I am 1 with 25.
Thanks, E.J. When we come back, On This Side of the World musical tells stories of Asian American struggles and victories. Eagle News, Washington, D.C. will return shortly. This is Eagle News, Washington, D.C., and I am Jennifer Polentan. Telling stories of Asian Americans in the U.S., the musical On This Side of the World has touched not only the audience's hearts, but those of the cast as well. Here's more. As we take a walk down Broadway and go to Tribeca, New York, we find ourselves at Access Theater, where the production entitled On This Side of the World is being showcased to coincide with the celebration of Asian American Heritage Month. Composer Paulo Queiroz tells us what the show is about.
On This Side of the World is a collection of songs inspired by the Filipino immigrant experience in the United States. There are so many different stories and so many feelings and so many characters that there is at least one character who you're going to be able to relate to in the show. One thing I'm really proud of with On This Side of the World is that we really have a multinational team behind it. It's a very, very diverse team. Our cast is 5 Filipino Americans, 1 Asian American, which is part of the vision because I really want the piece not only to serve the Filipino American actor community, but the Asian American actor community in general.
What's great about what Paulo writes is that he really writes a human crossroads. So each of these songs, each of these characters are talking about a crossroads in their life. So even if you're not an immigrant, you can relate to it as a human being.
Everyone who comes to America or anywhere else, no matter what our origins are, we all have very similar journeys. And I think that when Diane was talking about this is a very human story, I think that we all can relate to love, despair, hardships, all those different adversities. And I think it's something really wonderful because anybody can walk into this theater and see this show and connect to it and realize that there are so many similarities and find humanity in that.
You know, whether you're Filipino or not, I think it's about risk and sacrifice. And everybody, regardless of where you come from, has had to take a risk or sacrifice for themselves or for others.
This kind of art is what the world needs right now. Listen to the text. It's sometimes the words can cut like a knife because it's this truth there that exists is stuff that is hard to talk about.
He brings to life what we experience with our families and our friends. He brings it to life on stage.
He's adding to the voice of what America looks like now. Because America, it's not what it looked like 50 years ago, 40 years ago, 20 years ago. This is America now, and we are American voices adding to this. Filipino American voices, Chinese American voices, immigrant voices adding to it.
Right.
That's what's incredible about this piece.
I think also, you know, it's a Heritage Month, but it's May 2019, right? This is the time the world is talking about what it means to accept immigrants or not accept immigrants, or what it means to be an immigrant or a refugee. And these are universal questions that Powell has written about in a really real way. Like, what is home? What is identity? What is like a human worth? And I think it's amazing to be doing these and taking just like a really radical view, which is just put the humans on the stage, let them tell their stories. And I think that that's just so powerful.
Literally, like, this is the kind of stuff that changes the world. Like, and as an artist, this is what I get excited about, because this is what you can make an impact and contribute something that's going to be positive towards a solution to the issues that we have in our world today.
As the show ends, the audience rises for a standing ovation, and many are reflecting on the powerful and poignant messages they heard through music and song. Though the sold-out and critically acclaimed show has ended its limited engagement, there are future hopes for its return. From Tribeca, New York, I'm Jennifer Polintan, 1 with 25. That is today's Eagle News Washington, D.C. Join us tomorrow for stories that matter to you. Visit our websites at eaglenews.ph and eaglenewslive.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/EagleNewsPH. Thank you for watching. I am Jennifer Polintan, and I am 1 with 25.